Karen ordered my car towed from my driveway. Didn't know it's an active undercover police vehicle. The sun was barely creeping over the horizon when I heard the unmistakable grind of a tow truck backing into my driveway. My eyes snapped open, heart already racing. I'd been up half the night, wired on coffee and adrenaline, piecing together leads for the biggest case of my career. Sleep had been a luxury I couldn't afford, and now this? I threw off the covers, grabbed my badge from the nightstand, and bolted to the window. There she was, Karen, my neighbor of 3 months, standing on my lawn in her pristine yoga pants, arms crossed, directing the tow truck driver like she was conducting a symphony. Her blonde bob gleamed under the streetlight, and her face was set in that smug, self-righteous smirk I'd come to loathe. The truck's hook was already latched onto my beat-up gray sedan, the one I'd parked in my own driveway. My stomach churned. That wasn't just any car. It was an active undercover police vehicle, wired with surveillance equipment worth more than Karen's entire McMansion. I threw on a hoodie and stormed outside, my bare feet slapping against the cold concrete. "Karen," I shouted, waving my badge. "What the hell are you doing?" She turned, her eyes narrowing as she sized me up. "Oh good, you're awake, Jake. I've been trying to be patient, but that eyesore of a car has been cluttering up the neighborhood for weeks. I called the HOA and they agreed it's a violation. So I took care of it." I blinked, my brain struggling to process her words. "Cluttering? It's in my driveway. My own damn property." "Language, please," she said, clutching her imaginary pearls. "The HOA has standards, Jake. That car looks like it belongs in a junkyard. We're trying to keep property values up." The tow truck driver, a burly guy with a name tag reading Marty, looked between us, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Ma'am, sir, I just got the order to tow. I don't want to get in the middle of this." "You're not towing anything," I snapped, stepping between him and the car. "This is an active police vehicle. You hook that thing up, you're tampering with a federal investigation." Karen laughed, a sharp, grating sound that made my teeth clench. "Oh, please. You're a cop? That's rich. You look like you just rolled out of a frat house. Nice try, but I'm not falling for it." I held up my badge, the gold glinting in the dawn light. "Detective Jake Callahan, Narcotics Division. This car is part of an ongoing sting. You want to explain to my captain why you're sabotaging months of work?" Her smirk faltered for a split second, but she doubled down. "If you're a cop, why do you live in this dump? And why is your car such a wreck?" "I'm not stupid, Jake. You're just trying to weasel out of this." Marty scratched his head, looking like he was one wrong move from bolting. "Look, man, I don't know what's going on, but I got a job to do. Can you two figure this out?" Before I could answer, Karen waved him on. "Go ahead, Marty. Tow it. I'll deal with the consequences if there even are any." I lunged for the truck, but Marty was already climbing into the cab. The engine roared, and my Carmi lifeline to the biggest drug bust this city had seen in years started rolling backward. I could feel the blood pounding in my ears. This wasn't just about the car. It was about the hours I'd spent in that front seat, sweating through stakeouts, listening to wiretaps, tracking the cartel's every move. If that equipment got compromised, the case was dead. And so was my career. "Karen, stop this now," I yelled, my voice cracking with desperation. "You have no idea what you're doing." She just stood there, arms crossed, watching the truck pull away. "Maybe next time you'll follow the rules, Jake." That's when I heard Ida's soft, hesitant voice from behind me. Mr. Callahan? Is everything okay?" I turned to see Timmy, the scrawny kid from 2 houses down, standing on the sidewalk in his oversized Pokemon pajamas. He was clutching a skateboard, his wide eyes darting between me and the tow truck. Timmy was maybe 12, quiet, always tinkering with gadgets in his garage. I'd caught him watching me a few times, probably because I was the only guy on the block who didn't yell at him for skating in the street. "Not really, kid," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "My car's getting towed, and it's important." Timmy frowned, his brow furrowing like he was solving a math problem. "That's weird. I saw that car last night. There was, like, a blinking light under the dashboard. Looked like some kind of tech. My dad says only cops or spies have stuff like that." I froze. Timmy had seen the surveillance rig. I hadn't even noticed him snooping around. But before I could ask, Karen whirled on him. "Timmy, go back inside. This is grown-up business." Timmy didn't budge. "But I know Mr. Callahan's telling the truth. I've seen him leave at, like, 3 a.m. with a gun and stuff." He's got to be a cop. Karen's face twitched, but she waved him off. You're a kid. You don't know what you're talking about. That's when it hit me Timmy might be my only shot at salvaging this. Kid, I said, lowering my voice. You got any of that tech you're always messing with? Something that could help me stop that truck? Timmy's eyes lit up. Oh yeah, I've got a drone in my garage. It's got a camera and a gripper arm. I could maybe, drop something on the truck to slow it down. I didn't have time to question the ethics of enlisting a 12-year-old in a police operation. Do it. Fast. Timmy sprinted back to his house, and I turned to Karen, who was now looking slightly less sure of herself. You're about to regret this, I said, my voice low and steady. She scoffed, but there was a flicker of doubt in her eyes. We'll see about that. 2 minutes later, Timmy came tearing back, his drone buzzing overhead like an angry hornet. The kid was a natural, maneuvering the thing with the precision of a fighter pilot. The tow truck was halfway down the street, and I could see Marty's confused face in the side mirror as the drone swooped in. Timmy dropped a small metal contraption looked like a homemade caltropride in front of the truck's front tire. The tire hissed, deflating almost instantly, and the truck lurched to a stop. Holy crap, kid, I said, half laughing, half in awe. You're a genius. Timmy grinned, his cheeks flushing. Told you I'm good with tech. Karen's jaw dropped. You can't do that. That's vandalism, says the woman who just ordered an illegal tow. I shot back, already running toward the truck. Marty was out of the cab now, staring at the flat tire and muttering curses. All right, Marty, I said, flashing my badge again. Unhook my car. Now. He held up his hands. Man, I didn't know it was a cop car. I'm just following orders. I was about to tell him to save it when my phone buzzed. It was my partner, Ramirez. Jake, we got a problem, he said, his voice tight. The cartel's moving the shipment. Tonight. We need that car's data now, or we're screwed. My heart sank. The surveillance rig in the car had been recording audio from a wiretap I'd planted on one of the cartel's runners. If I didn't get it back to the station ASAP, we'd lose our window to intercept the drug's $10 million worth of cocaine flooding the streets. I turned to Marty, who was still fumbling with the tow hook. Hurry up, man. That's when I noticed Karen, now on her phone, talking in a low, urgent voice. I couldn't hear much, but I caught the words lawyer and sue. Great. She was already plotting her next move. But then something else caught my eye. Timmy, still holding his drone controller, was staring at Karen with a strange look. Not fear, not confusion, but recognition. Mr. Callahan, he whispered, tugging my sleeve. I think I know why she's so mad about your car. I frowned. What do you mean? Timmy hesitated, glancing at Karen, who was still engrossed in her call. Last week, I was flying my drone around, and I saw her in her backyard. She was meeting some guy. He gave her a big bag of cash. Like, a lot of cash. And I heard her say something about keeping the street clear. I didn't think much of it, but now, my blood ran cold. Karen? Involved with the cartel? It sounded insane, but Timmy's earnest face told me he wasn't making this up. Suddenly, her obsession with my car made a twisted kind of sense. If she was on the cartel's payroll, she might have been tipped off about an undercover cop in the neighborhood. My car, parked inconspicuously in my driveway, could have been flagged as a threat. Timmy, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You got any footage from that drone? He nodded, his eyes wide. Yeah, it's on my laptop. I can show you. I clapped him on the shoulder. You're my hero, kid. Stay here. Don't say a word to anyone. As Marty finally unhooked my car, I glanced at Karen, who was now pacing, her phone still pressed to her ear. She had no idea the tables were about to turn. But as I climbed into my car, the weight of Timmy's revelations settled over me. If Karen was dirty, this case just got a whole lot bigger and a whole lot more dangerous. I gunned the engine, the sedan's tires screeching as I pulled it back into my driveway. My heart was hammering, not just from the near disaster with the tow truck, but from Timmy's bombshell. Karen, the neighborhood busybody, tied to the cartel? It was almost too wild to believe, but the pieces were starting to click. Her obsession with my car, her constant complaints about property values, the way she always seemed to be watching my house site wasn't just her being a nosy Karen. She was covering for someone. Or something. I glanced at Timmy, still clutching his drone controller, his face a mix of pride and nervousness. Kid, I said, keeping my voice low. Get that footage to me ASAP. But don't let anyone see you. Not even your parents. Got it. He nodded, his eyes wide, and scampered back to his house. Karen was still on her phone, pacing the sidewalk, her voice sharp and clipped. I caught fragments of her conversation. I handled it, no. He doesn't suspect, just get it done. My gut twisted. If she was working for the cartel, she wasn't just a nuisance. She was a liability. A dangerous one. I called Ramirez back. We've got a situation, I said, keeping my eyes on Karen. My neighbor might be involved. I need backup and a tech team to pull data from my car. Now. Ramirez didn't miss a beat. On it. Sit tight, Jake. And don't do anything stupid. Easier said than done. My mind was racing, piecing together the timeline. The cartel had been slipping through our fingers for months, always one step ahead. Leaks in the department were a constant worry, but I'd never suspected someone like Karina's suburban mom with a penchant for HOA meetings could be their eyes on the ground. It was brilliant, in a twisted way. Who'd suspect her? Timmy reappeared 10 minutes later, a USB drive clutched in his hand. Got it, he whispered, glancing nervously at Karen, who was now glaring at us from across the street. It's all here. The guy she met looked sketchy. Like, really sketchy. I took the drive, my hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. You're a lifesaver, Timmy. Now go home and stay out of sight. He hesitated, then blurted. Mr. Callahan, be careful. My dad says the cartel doesn't mess around. If she's with them. I know, I said, forcing a smile. I've got this. Thanks, kid. As Timmy darted off, I plugged the USB into my laptop, which I'd grabbed from inside. The footage was grainy, shot from the drone's low-res camera, but it was damning. There was Karen, in her backyard under the cover of night, handing a duffel bag to a man in a black hoodie. He passed her a thick envelope, and even through the muffled audio, I caught her saying, "Keep the street clear. No cops, no problems." The man nodded, his face obscured, but I recognized the tattoo on his wrist, a coiled snake. That was Marco, one of the cartel's top lieutenants. My blood ran cold. This was bigger than I'd thought. The sound of tires crunching gravel snapped me out of it. 2 unmarked SUVs pulled up, and Ramirez hopped out, his face grim. What's the deal, Jake? You look like you've seen a ghost. I handed him the USB. Karen's dirty. She's working for Marco. This footage proves it. Ramirez's eyes widened as he watched the clip. Holy, you're kidding me. The yoga mom. Not just a yoga mom, I said. She's their lookout. Probably why they've been dodging us. He cursed under his breath. All right, we're taking her in. But we need to move fast. If she tips them off, that shipment's gone. I glanced at Karen, who was now watching us, her phone still in hand. She wasn't stupid, she knew something was up. We don't have time for a warrant, I said. If we don't act now, she'll bolt. Ramirez nodded. Let's do it. But keep it clean, Jake. No heroics. We approached Karen, badges out, moving with purpose. Her eyes darted between us, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her face. What's this about? She demanded, her voice shrill. I haven't done anything wrong. Karen Mitchell, Ramirez said, his tone calm but firm. You're coming with us for questioning regarding your involvement with a known criminal organization. Her face went pale, but she didn't break. This is outrageous. I'm calling my lawyer. You can call him from the station, I said, stepping closer. We've got footage, Karen. You and Marco, in your backyard. Want to explain that? For a split second, I thought she'd crack. But then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not her usual smug chuckle, but a low, bitter sound that sent a chill down my spine. You think you're so smart, Jake, she said, her eyes glinting. You have no idea what you're up against. Before I could respond, she bolted, sprinting across her lawn toward her house. Ramirez cursed and took off after her, but I hesitated. Something about her words, her confidence, felt off. This wasn't just panic. She had a plan. I radioed the tech team, who were already pulling the surveillance data from my car. Hurry it up, I snapped. We've got a runner, and she's not acting alone. Inside Karen's house, things got messy fast. Ramirez kicked in the door, and we found her in the living room, frantically shoving papers into a shredder. Step away, Karen, I shouted, drawing my sidearm. Hands where I can see them. She froze, her hands trembling, but her eyes were defiant. You're too late, she spat. You'll never stop them. Ramirez cuffed her, reading her rights as she glared daggers at me. But as we led her outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were missing something. Her confidence, even now, was unnerving. What did she know that we didn't? Back at the station, the tech team cracked open the car's surveillance rig. The audio was gold hours of conversations between Marco and his runners, detailing the shipment's route, timing, everything. We had enough to intercept the drugs and take down half the cartel's network. But Karen's interrogation was a different story. She lawyered up immediately, refusing to say a word. Her smugness was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating silence that made my skin crawl. That's when the twist came, the one I never saw coming. Timmy's mom, Linda, showed up at the station, her face pale and her hands shaking. "Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need to talk to you. It's about Timmy." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay?" She nodded, but her eyes were wet with tears. "He's fine, but he told me something. About Karen. And me." I led her to a private room, my heart pounding. "What's going on, Linda?" She took a deep breath. "A year ago, I was in a bad place. My husband left, and I was drowning in debt. Karen, she offered to help. Said she knew people who could give me a loan, no questions asked. I didn't know who they were, Jake. I swear. But after Timmy told me about the drone footage, I started thinking, what if Karen got me involved with the cartel? What if they've been using me too?" I stared at her, my mind reeling. Linda, the quiet single mom who baked cookies for the neighborhood kids, caught up in this? It was almost too much to process. "Did you ever meet anyone? See anything?" She shook her head. "Just Karen. She'd drop off cash sometimes, tell me not to ask questions. I thought she was just being kind. But now I'm scared, Jake. What if they come after Timmy?" I put a hand on her shoulder, trying to stay calm. "We'll protect you. Both of you. But I need you to tell me everything. Every detail." Linda's story filled in the gaps. Karen hadn't just been a loot-couched, been recruiting. Using her HOA clout to identify vulnerable neighbors. People like Linda who could be manipulated with money or favors. The cartel had turned our quiet suburb into a web of informants, and Karen was the spider at the center. That night, we intercepted the shipment. The bust was textbook, 10 million in cocaine seized, Marco and his crew in cuffs. But as I watched the news vans swarm the scene, I couldn't shake the bitterness in my chest. Karen's arrest was a victory, but at what cost? Linda and Timmy were now under witness protection, their lives uprooted. My neighborhood, my home, felt tainted. And Karen? She never broke, never gave up her higher-ups. Even in cuffs, she had that same smug look, like she knew something we didn't. The case was closed, but the scars lingered. I'd spent years chasing justice, thinking it would feel clean, righteous. But this was messy, ugly, heartbreaking. Karen wasn't just a villain, she was a symptom of something bigger, a reminder that evil didn't always look like a cartel thug. Sometimes it wore yoga pants and smiled at you over a picket fence. As I stood in my driveway, staring at the spot where my car had nearly been towed, I thought about Timmy, the kid who'd saved the day with a drone and a hunch. He'd seen the truth when no one else had. But he'd also lost his innocence, his sense of safety. And that was the real tragedy. What do you think? Was Karen a mastermind or just another pawn? Should Linda have known better, or was she a victim too? Share your thoughts. Where does the line between right and wrong lie in a story like this?